Oh, what's happening, guys? We're leaving work. Talk about some bikes today. I've been riding off and on for about 10 years now. And I got my first bike when I was 19. I'm 29 now. My first one was a pretty cool little bike. It was a Kawasaki Eliminator. It was a ZL 600B2. A real cool bike. It was a cruiser. It was real nice, real bright yellow, and I thought I was the coolest thing in the fucking world whenever I got it. It was PTO for the final drive, but it had a lot of get up and go for a cruiser style bike, you know. I remember whenever I got the manuals, I bought it secondhand. I ended up buying the manuals. And whenever I got them, it sent two of them, and one was for the Ninja of that year, and the other one was for my bike. And it was more or less that the engine and the transmission, other than the final drive, everything was the same. So it was one ballsy ass bike. I had a lot of fun on that thing. I really didn't know anything about bikes at the time, so I ended up frying the electrical harness, trying to help somebody jump their four-wheeler off. And fried the electrical. I replaced it, replaced the entire harness, replaced the battery, ended up having to replace the ECU, and eventually I sold that dude, and I really regret it now. I mean, I would love to have that bike back. My friend actually has it. Don't think he's really gonna ever get it running again, but at the same time, right now, with all the money I'm spending on the stunt bike and all, I really don't have the money to get it back myself, unfortunately. The second bike I got was given to me, kind of. It was a 2012 Honda Shadow 750. And I really loved that bike, you know. I mean, my son and me rode around on it all the time. We rode around my little driveway that we have. And he fell in love with bikes because of that one. And it was always a real great bike, but it really just wasn't what I wanted, you know. I mean, I wanted speed. I ended up getting the job that I have now after I got that bike. And whenever I got the job, I ended up running into a lot of the people that I hang out with now, that I ride bikes with. And they were the ones that got me into sport bikes, and I bought my very first ZX6R. And I did everything on that thing. I got it, I rode the streets. A friend of mine that I'm going to NOLA with here soon got me into track days. So I ended up taking it to MSR first, and then we went to NOLA, had a great time. I really couldn't think of anything I did not do on that bike. After we got back from NOLA, I ended up wrecking and all. Got home, and we ended up stunting it out before it was stolen from me. And like I said, there really wasn't anything that I didn't do on that bike. I did absolutely everything you could think of. My next one was the FZ09. I ended up selling the Honda Shadow, something that I kind of regret. And I got my FZ09, another really fun bike. I ended up getting it because I wanted the Super Duke, the 1290, and a buddy of mine got the Super Duke. So I ended up getting the FZ09 just to have something a little different, you know. I wanted to have something that was kind of unique to the area. Nobody else had the Duke at the time, and nobody had a Naked. You know, it was just something different. You didn't see them everywhere. And so that's what I got, and I had so much fun on that bike. A little too much fun on that bike. That's the reason why I'm on parole, is because of that bike. And probably the reason why I'm still alive from that is because of that bike and all of its electronics and everything that it had on it. I ended up wrecking it last year in August 1st, as a matter of fact, coming home from work on nights. A couple of guys sandwiched me right up here, a little ways further up, but right up here on this Interstate I-10. And that was really shitty. I had my ZX, my original bike, whenever I first got that one, and unfortunately I was real bad at the time about leaving my bikes outside. You know, I'd cover them, but that was about it, and so they were always outside. Never had a problem with it for the whole first year. I think we put the FZ09 whenever I got it, but I never had a problem with it the whole first year that I rode. And then came out one morning, literally probably had been asleep like 4.5, 5 hours, because I had gotten home from a late night ride in Houston. It was probably midnight to 1 o'clock when I got home, and whenever I came back out the next morning to go on another ride with some older folks, it was gone, and it really hurt me. After that, I wanted, before I ended up wrecking the FZ, I wanted another stunt bike. Well, the friend of mine that is going to NOLA with me, he had just gotten a brand new track bike, a CBR 600RR. It was all tracked out, really nice bike, and he got it and then got out of riding. So whenever he got out of riding, I ended up buying the CBR from him, and that was my last stunt bike, which I loved that bike. It was ballsy as fuck. The major drawbacks that I ended up realizing that it's not a stunt bike from was that, one, it doesn't have an idle adjust. It was an 08 CBR. I think it was the 7 and 8 that they don't have a manual adjust. It's all done at the ECU, so you can't really stunt it, you know, because you can't really tweak with your idle the way that you need to in a stunt setting. So that sucked, and I ended up having to get rid of it for that. Well, I actually still have it, but I ended up stunning it because of that. And the throttle was always real twitchy. You know, I was always able, I've got videos up of it on the page, if you go back and look. I could 12 o'clock it, I could scrape the 12 bar, no problem. But trying to find that sweet spot in your throttle, it seemed impossible. So we finally decided that it's just not the stunt bike for me. It's partially cannibalized right now, but I'm thinking about, I talked to my wife about it, and we're probably going to end up putting that back together as a track bike. The only thing it's really lacking is the Bajaj FI that I took off of it. Probably put that back on just because it has the quick shifter and all. And we'll put some clip-ons on it, and I need a new brake lever because I decided to use the Brembo that it had on it to go to the handbrake for my stunt bike. Oh. And then of course, after I wrecked my FZ, insurance came through and all, we ended up getting this one. And this bike, you know, I ride it all the time, but this is really for my wife. As much as I enjoy 600s and all, I had really been looking to move up to the next class. I wouldn't say that I'm bored with them, but at the same time, they're not the kind of bikes that I like anymore. I want something with a little more power. Everybody around here has kind of upgraded up to the 1000s, and it just makes riding with the group kind of a pain in the ass. So I definitely like to upgrade. But instead we were actually looking originally at the KTM RC390, and by the time that we got the money and we went to go buy it, my wife told me, you know, she had always dreamed of having a Kawasaki ZX6R, and so that's what we ended up going with. And she loves this bike. She hates the fact that I do the things that I do on it, but at the same time she deals with it, you know, it ain't no big deal. And then of course we were scouting, you know, as I said. We decided that the CBR wasn't the bike for me for stunting, so I started looking for a new stunt bike, and that was when I ran across the Kawasaki 613. Most likely my next one's going to be another 1000. I've thought long and hard about it, and either I want the BMW S1000 or I want the H2. I guess those are kind of you know, like, oh yeah, well, everybody wants one of those. But those are the bikes that I have brought it down to, that I'm like, yeah, those are what I would want. If I get a choice out of it all, I'm gonna get one of those too. And my wife's behind it all the way. I'm probably not the most responsible person in the world, obviously, but at the same time, I know in the back of my head, you know, I've got my kids, my wife, my job. I have people that count on me. I can't exactly just go all out in the streets on the H2 or whatever. Not that that means that I won't, because at the same time, as responsible as I feel like I am, I'm still a fucking idiot too. But that's my experience, y'all. Maybe y'all have had some different, you know, let me know in the comment section. Tell me what you've ridden. What do you like? You know, what kind of ride do you like to go on? Y'all have all seen I like to ride hard. I like to wheelie a lot. I don't do very many stoppies on this bike, just because that the ones that I have done in the past have been really sketchy, and the last thing I want to do is drop this bike. I've dropped my stunt bike a few times whenever I had the CBR and the first ZX, and the last thing I want to do is drop this bike. But like I said, let me know in the comments section. Give me a like and subscribe so that we can start making some better and more content, and I'll see y'all later.